Hi everyone, Charlene here. Today we're going to use the Very Merry Layering Stencils and we're going to create some really quick and easy holiday tags. Now the Very Merry Layering Stencils have 6 different layers, and then there are also coordinating dies that can cut out different small pieces from the stencil. I'm not using them today, but I wanted to share them with you. So let's get started. I have my sticky mat here with a half sheet of cardstock. I'll start by bringing in layering stencil number 1, which is going to color our gingerbread, our bell, and a few other things. So I'll line this up on the edges, then I'll bring in a nice light brown ink here. I'm going to do an all over for this layer. I went pretty dark with the brown on this first layer of the stencil, and I'm going to do that with most of the layers. So I'll remove layer number 1, then bring in layer number 2, and this is again going to line up right along the edges. I'm going to make sure that the clear marks that are on the stencil are going around the different images as I lay this down. For this layer, I'm using a nice dark evergreen color. I'll be using traditional Christmas colors here, but you could always use a nice array of pinks or even teals, whatever you have. Finished here with layer number 2, so I'll go ahead and remove that. I'll do the same thing with stencil layer number 3, lining it up over those items we've already colored and along the edges. For this layer, I will bring in a little bit of a lighter green color, again giving it a nice all over on the different areas, just building that color up in layers of ink. Finished here with the lighter green, so I will go ahead and remove stencil number 3. It's starting to come together. Now I'll bring in stencil layer number 4, and for this one I'll bring a nice crimson red color. I've got a nice layer of that red, so I'll go ahead and remove stencil layer number 4. Looks so good. I'll bring in layer number 5 now, and for this layer I'll bring in a slightly darker shade of red. So this works really well with doing like 2 different greens and 2 different reds like I'm doing here. So I'll go ahead and remove stencil layer number 5. Look at that gorgeous pattern. I'm going to bring in the last layer, which is layer 6, and line it up. You could do gray or black for this layer. I'm actually going to do a little bit of mixed media because I think it just adds a really nice touch. So I'm using my spatula here with some shimmer paste, and I'm going to cover the entire layer with the paste. Once everything is nice and covered, I will carefully lift up my stencil, and you'll see that adds a fun little white shimmery detail. I'm going to carefully peel my cardstock off of my sticky mat, and then I will set it aside to dry and clean up all of my items. While it's drying, I've pulled out the Simply Stated holiday stamps and coordinating dies. These are really great because this is going to stamp a bunch of different sentiments at one time, and then I can cut them all out at once with these fun different tag shapes. So I have the stamp here. I'm going to place it in the center of an A2 sized piece of black cardstock, and then I'm going to grab my die and just make sure everything fits where it's supposed to. It's always a good idea to do that when you are using a large die like this. I'll go ahead and lift the stamp up with the door of my stamping platform and grab some anti-static powder, covering my entire card panel. I have some clear embossing ink. I'm going to cover my entire stamp and then go ahead and flip and press and lift. I will do this a second time with the embossing ink just to make sure I have some really nice coverage. So I'll flip and press, and then I can pull out the entire panel carefully from my stamping platform. I'll be heat embossing with some fine white embossing powder. I love the way white embossing powder looks on black cardstock. And I'll make sure my heat tool is nice and hot before I bring it to the paper, and then I can melt all of the embossing powder. I always like to check in the light and make sure everything is nice and melted before I cut things out. This is a fun stamp and die set because you can see these tiny little hearts here. Those are going to help line up your die so you can make sure that everything cuts out nice and straight. Once everything's in place, I'll just tape the die down so it doesn't shift on me, and then I can run it through my die cutting machine pop out all of those beautiful different sentiments. We have all of our sentiments here, and we have our pretty stenciled panel, which is all nice and dry now. I'm going to be using the tag builder dies to make my tags. The first thing I want to do is go ahead and cut down my stenciled panel. I'm going to cut off these edges where the coloring is, but I'm going to leave that little bit of extra white. So this piece is 6 inches across. I'm going to come along at the horizontal and cut it in half along the 3-inch line, and that's going to give me 2 3-inch strips here. Then I will cut out my tags using the second from largest tag die. These are 3 inches tall, so it's going to fit right across our 3-inch strip. I am going to go ahead and cut these down so it's a little bit easier. I should be able to get 3 tags out of here. So I've cut these down to be about 1.75 inches wide across. Then I can go ahead and cut out each of the tags using my little die cutting machine here, and we will get this super cute little tag. So I'll go ahead and repeat that for all of them. I've cut them all out. You'll notice that little white strip at the bottom on these. I'm not worried about it. If it bothers you, you could easily trim off that piece with a paper trimmer. I don't think it's very noticeable because we're going to put the sentiments on top of the tags. But you could cut out whatever size tags you want just using that stenciled panel. So I'm going to go through here and pick some of the sentiments to put on my tags. I've chosen several smaller sentiments. I'm going to grab some adhesive foam squares here and add them to the back of those sentiments. Remove the release tape and then center them on my tags. So I finished putting them all together. I've saved the larger tags that we created, and I'm going to set those aside. I can use them for different tags I create or for cards. I have some gold and white twine here. I'm going to show you how I do this. I put a knot at the end, then I measure out 6 inches and add another knot. Then I add a second knot about 1 inch away from that first knot that I've tied. So I have about 1 inch in between those 2 knots, and then I can cut in between the 2 knots. That keeps everything where it's supposed to be, nothing unravels. So I'll do that 6 times. I've got my twine ready. I went ahead and cut out 6 extra tags just out of plain white cardstock. I'm going to add some glue to the back of these, and I'll glue them to my finished tags. That's going to give us a nice clean back, and it's also going to make our tags a little bit sturdier, but it's totally optional. Then I'll grab my twine and fold it in half. And I'll take that folded part and I'm going to push that through the very back of my tag. I'll open that loop up and then tuck the 2 tails through the center of it and pull them up. I'll go through and do that for all the tags. I've put them all together. I'm going to bring in some Merry Moments pearl stickers to add a little bit of bling on my tags. I'll just add some of these pearls here and there. Here are all of our super cute finished tags. I absolutely just love that little gingerbread guy. These all turned out super, super cute. You could easily mass produce these for the holidays. You could do your stencil, like I said, in multiple colors, or you could do a nice monochrome palette with a layering stencil and pinks, teals, or reds or greens if you want to be a little more traditional like I was today. I hope that all of you picked up some tips and tricks today. Please be sure to like and subscribe, as well as hit that notification bell so that you'll know about future videos here on the Honeybee Stamps YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.